Welcome back to the European show, and we are right on the hot news again. I covered the Sofagate situation last time I saw you, and I am happy to report, well, not happy, but excited in a weird way to report that Sofagate is actually continuing. For those of you who follow European politics, you will know that there's been a bit of a scandal happening in the European Union, and we're talking about the higher-ups of the European Union. The European Council President and the European Commission President have had a bit of a conflict over a seating situation. Charles Michel, who is the president of the European Council, and Ursula von der Leyen, who is the president of the European Commission, went to Turkey to speak to Erdogan about all kinds of issues that he's been kind of raising, as he does, including human rights issues and including women's rights. And the problem of the Istanbul Convention, which Turkey, as Erdogan announced recently, has decided to leave. The Istanbul Convention is a commitment from countries around the world. It's kind of centered around European countries in a way, but there's other countries who signed it, including Canada, including the United States, including Turkey. And the commitment is to women's rights, to making sure that violence against women is something that we see through the lens of hate crimes and violence against children, domestic violence. It kind of tackles all those issues, and it's a commitment from these states to take this very seriously. And Erdogan decided late March that he's going to make an announcement leaving that. So it's just one of the things that Erdogan and Turkey has been doing that have been controversial and that have been raising a lot of eyebrows, not just in Europe, not just in the European Union, but around the world. So Ursula von der Leyen and Charles Michel went to see Erdogan, and Erdogan being Erdogan, on this specific trip, when it's all about women's rights and human rights, or at least partially, Erdogan had one chair ready for the negotiation. Erdogan prepared one chair for himself and one chair for another person, and sofas for the secondary actors in the situation. And he motioned Charles Michel to the seat, to the chair, and kind of left Ursula hanging. And I cover this a lot. I cover this like in depth in my last episode. So if you guys want to take a look at that, it's like a little bit more fun because it's in the moment and it's my reaction. It's pretty real and intense. But yeah, so like the one man of privilege motioned another man of privilege into the main seat and left the woman standing, wondering where she didn't even know. There's footage. I'm going to show this picture again. She's just standing there, and she doesn't know where to go. She doesn't know where to sit. She doesn't know because it's so it just happened like this in a moment. With these diplomatic things, these things can happen so quick. Before you know it, it's an incident. And the controversy wasn't over Erdogan, because everybody knows that Erdogan is a tool, for lack of a better word. He's a wannabe dictator, and it's all about degrading women. And he obviously did this on purpose. What was so controversial in European circles, at least, and there's all the European newspapers have been writing about this. Twitter has been alight about this for a week. The controversy is about the fact that a senior official and another senior official went to Turkey, and the man official, the man of privilege, did not hold up the woman of, some privilege at least. He did not work as a team with von der Leyen. He just went and took the seat that Erdogan offered to him, instead of making sure that his colleague had a place to sit as well. It was it was disastrous. He just he sat in that seat and he let Ursula just wonder what's going to happen to her. And it was obviously at first it kind of escalated a little bit. But it didn't seem like it was going to be a big deal. When I was talking about it first, I was like, I thought it wouldn't be, like, I thought they would just, like, kind of get over it, because that's what people in the European Union do a lot. Like, a lot of these officials, it's all, like, compromise, steady pace, everything kind of quiet. It was clearly a big deal, and I saw that this was, like, gonna be, like, a lot of the Jean Michel brand was, like, I thought it was gonna suffer, but a part of me thought, well, maybe he's not gonna suffer that much, because it's, like, it is what it is. That's kind of the motto of the European Union sometimes when it comes to diplomacy and human relations. It's like, it is what it is. Especially when dealing with wannabe dictators like Erdogan. But no, not this time. The women have awoken, and the women are pissed. Oh my God. Like, this, he's not going to get away with this. This is an incident now. It is like, this has gone beyond the it's like a hashtag, Sofagate. Some people are calling it Divangate, because in Turkey you have divans, so it's like appropriate to the situation. What happened is, when Ursula von der Leyen and Charles Michel came back from their mission in Turkey, it turned out that they, what happens in the European Union is that the president of the European Council and the president of the European Commission usually have a little sit-down, tete-a-tete. It happens once a week. They give each other updates, stuff like that. And that one didn't happen. They didn't meet. And Charles Michel canceled that, because he claimed that he had to see someone. It was like a diplomatic thing. There was someone coming, and he couldn't see her. And they finally met yesterday, and the entire meeting apparently was about Sofagate. It was about the incident. It wasn't about anything to do with anything other than this. This is like the kind of soap opera situation you do not get a lot in the European Union at all. And like the coverage of it, the fact that it's like this like big thing is also really quite unique to the European Union. Since they came back from Turkey, Charles Michel has apologized, but in a very horrible way. It was like one of those sorry not sorry apologies. He kind of said, well, I didn't know, like, what else could I have done? I wanted to avoid an incident. Ursula wouldn't mind, because she's about equal rights. And that was probably the statement that kind of buried him when it comes to public relations. And what's happened since is, as far as I know, Ursula von der Leyen has made any kind of outright statement with regards to the situation. But what has happened is that a petition has been signed by 5,000 people. That's like, as of this morning, I don't know who else, like maybe it's like 10,000 signatures now. But there's a petition going around for Charles Michel, president of the European Council, to resign over this incident. I'm not kidding. And there's like, I have a list here. Politico has been covering this drama really well. I really appreciate that coverage from Politico. And one of the organizations that has called upon Charles Michel to resign and that have signed this letter, this petition, is the International League of Women. Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. This is so bad. When the International League of Women thinks that you are beyond any kind of comeback, or even like, this is really bad. This is so bad. And of course, in this petition, the International League of Women and a bunch of other organizations link this incident to the whole point about why this trip was made, and the human rights issues in Turkey, and all the things I said before. Yeah, like, it's a big drama. When it comes to, like, as far as, like, him resigning, I'm not sure about that. Like, now I feel a little bit bad. Now I feel a little bit sorry for him. He did say that since the incident, like, Jean-Michel has made like several statements since the incident, and one has been kind of worse than the other, which is why like this entire situation escalated. He should have just owned it, really. But he didn't. And like what makes it worse is that like it just looked like he was basically doing the bidding of Erdogan, who is, you know, doing all these things that are really, really detrimental to his people. Erdogan is a wannabe dictator. There's no doubt about this. That's what he wants to be doing. That's how he behaves. And Jean-Michel just like walked in that trap and did his bidding and behaved like a little girl. So that was not good. So it makes the European Union look weak. Obviously, it makes him look weak. It makes him look like he was bowing down to a dictator. And it makes him look like a total misogynist, because his excuses were, well, equal rights, so like I get to sit wherever I want, and I wanted to avoid a scene. So it's basically him saying like I would just like abandon any one of my colleagues just to not make a scene, and I'm happy to look weak, and I'm happy to bow down to a dictator on whatever issue it is, as long as I'm comfortable myself. Anyway, so since then he's issued like a semi-apology. He's also said that like he regrets it and that he can't sleep at night over this. Well, I'm not surprised, Jean-Michel. I'm not surprised. That's like, he is, you know, like, when you see that picture, he is so spineless in like the way that he just like followed Erdogan's lead. And then he's sitting there like spineless in that chair. Like, I am surprised the chair is able to hold him, considering that he has no spine and no structure to his being. But, yeah, but as far as I know, Ursula von der Leyen has not said anything herself. And there's like this like whole like and there's this whole like drama now between the two camps, the European Commission and the European Council. Those are two bodies that kind of function in the overall administration of the European Union. And one of the excuses that Jean-Michel and his staff gave for why he sat in the chair was that, well, you know, the council is more senior than the commission, because the commission just does like, it doesn't, it's not like representative. It's not like the big picture. The commission does like, more the administration, whereas the council is representative. So it's more like the president of the actual, you know, like a president of a country. And this actually made the situation worse, and it made way more people angry at Jean-Michel. And there's some truth to this, but it's something that's not really this isn't set in stone. It's not part of like official protocol. And maybe this is an area that the European Union needs to look at solidifying a little more, so it's not so uncertain. But yeah, so far, we'll see what happens. This petition is live, so we'll see if Jean-Michel actually decides to react to it in any kind of way. Don't worry, he won't resign. I doubt that anything will come of it, but it's like, as far as like European Union politics goes, this is like a big, big thing, because that's never happened before, and people have not been so like angry and pissed with. This is like the president of the European Council. There's not been an incident like this where like people kind of in the community feel, not just like, you know, other members of the European Parliament or politicians. This is organizations. This is normal people who saw this happen and feel insulted and feel bad about it, and feel bad about it for Ursula von der Leyen. This is the most bloodthirsty passion I've seen about a European politician in the structures of the European Union, probably ever. And you have to remember, Jean-Michel became president of the European Council in 2019. He is a successor to the immensely successful Donald Tusk, who kind of went through that dark era of Brexit in the European Union, who is seen to have handled things really well. Donald Tusk is also a spineless politician, one of those like compromised people but when it comes to certain things, he is very spineful. So when he did make statements about Brexit, when he did have a reaction to Brexit, it was it was just a good combination. He was probably the best person for the job at the time, because a lot of these UK politicians and a lot of the United Kingdom discourse at the time was incredibly offensive and racist towards a lot of Europe. They were saying a lot of racist things about Eastern Europeans, and of course Donald Tusk is himself Eastern European. So there's a lot of like talk around this in the United Kingdom, why Brexit happened, and they were saying all kinds of offensive things about Germany, that all Germans are Nazis and stuff like that. It was just very, kind of low level punching down and stuff like that. And not once did Donald Tusk take the bait. Not once did he say anything out of place. He was very gracious. He was very reserved about the way that he handled Brexit and what was being said by the head of state and politicians and people who were in charge of Brexit at the time. And he said really nice and complimentary things about the United Kingdom, and he just never mentioned anything bad until it came to actual Brexit negotiations, and the United Kingdom wanted to have their cake and eat it. They wanted to have all their privileges without kind of giving anything away. They were going to leave the European Union to basically end migration, but they didn't want to give up being part of the open market, which did not happen. And Tusk was very firm in the way that he handled, at least, the public appearances on this, because that's an important part of politics, and something that the European Union needs to kind of going forward. I would love for the European Union to be more kind of on it, about like public statements and about making just like, these big charismatic appearances. There's something to be said for this, because it engages people and it engages citizenship and it makes people interested, which is something that's lacking. But I think Tusk was he was the perfect guy for these, like, just to make these statements, kind of go up on stage and never go low. He never went low, but he was very firm and he was very strict, and he was not spineless when it mattered, and he was super spineless, amoeba-like, when it didn't matter. He knew what he was doing. Jean-Michel, on the other hand, obviously is struggling to understand the ratio of spinelessness, and he made a big, big, big mistake, especially in this climate. I'm really pleasantly surprised in some ways that, on this one issue about treating women with respect, about understanding what equal rights truly is, and particularly in the context of it being in a situation where you're in a country where women are not treated with respect, that the people of Europe have really taken a firm stance. And this is now an international incident. I feel a little bit bad. I'm not sure that I would like him to resign. I don't want to ruin a man's career over a mistake, but I think he needs to learn a lesson from this. And I see it all the time, and I'm sure that women, if you're a woman watching this, or a non-binary person, or anyone who's in any way affected by these dominant cis male narratives, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, and you will know the gut feeling, the kind of the gut reaction you get from watching the footage of this incident. You've been in this situation before. I've been in this situation before a million times. You know what it feels like. It's when a group of people meet and it's all guys and one girl or two girls, and they all shake their hands and they don't shake your hand and they ignore you. All that kind of stuff. This is misogyny 101. So that's Sofagate. Mixed feelings about this. I feel a little bit sad for him now, but at the same time, he is kind of representing this kind of semi-woke, but not really, attitude towards women and equal rights. He doesn't really get it. He obviously has a version of equal rights in his mind that's incorrect. And I love, so I'm sad for that. And I'm sad that he's this is just, look at the people in the European Union. Look at members of the European Parliament. Like, you know, like just like side by side. Like, let's look at their headshots, right? Like a lot of these people are men of immense privilege, and they play the game and they say the right thing. But what they really think and how they really truly behave in the meeting rooms and how they treat women, well, they might be nice to the women that they see at work, but how do they treat other women when they're out of the European Parliament? And many of them are horrible, horrible misogynistic pigs. And I'm sorry I have to say that word. And I'm sorry to actual pigs, but we all know these people. We all meet them all the time, and we think we live in the 21st century and it's not happening anymore. But let me assure you, it is happening all the time, everywhere. So I'm really, really happy that we've had this response from people in the European Union community, the global community, being outraged at this. This is the reaction we want as women. So we'll see. I'm sure there'll be new developments on Friday. And we could not possibly complete this show today without talking about Russia, because Russia is always up to no good, or rather Putin, not Russia. The people of Russia are wonderful, but Putin isn't, and he's not a wannabe dictator. He's a real dictator, and he's been out and about provoking people in Ukraine. He's been there's just been an amassing of troops on the Ukraine border. This is quite a serious thing. Famously, there was a conflict in Crimea, and this is like one of those undeclared wars, but Russia actually swallowed up a good part of Ukraine, and this is through conflict. If for those who follow that, this is obviously like a major world event, but for people who don't follow like the Russia situation and its recent history, and it's had very recent consequences around Europe and the European Union, and it was quite a shock when it happened, because Putin is one of those kind of tactical geniuses. He's very tactical. He's not very long-term thinking. And he does these like weird things, obviously, you know, randomly kills and poisons people. But he also really enjoys kind of, you know, lingering on a border somewhere, showing a few tanks, just being obnoxious, just to see what happens, really. Sometimes I feel with Putin, there's no real plan. I think sometimes people, you know, they want to talk about, you know, what is the plan? Where is the long game? There's no long game. Like, it's Putin. And this is what's happening in Ukraine now. So, Russia basically, dominated a territory that is rightfully a part of the Ukraine in Crimea, and several other territories alongside of that. They went in and they had conflict with Ukrainian forces, and the reason for this in 2015, when it was happening, that Russia gave, was that there were people in these regions who are culturally Russian, and they identify as Russian, and they were being oppressed by these, you know, horrible Ukrainian people, and Putin had to, you know, intervene. And funnily enough, and I don't want to bring this up because it's like one of those things, you don't talk about this because it's like the lowest common denominator, but I have to, because it's living history and it's Europe, and it's a fact, and it's so juicily pertinent to this issue in Ukraine. That is precisely the reason that Hitler gave, I'm sorry, but I have to mention the H word, right? That is precisely the reason, like word for word, that Hitler gave for invading Poland in 1939 and starting World War II. That it wasn't like an invasion or a war, and he wasn't taking anyone's country. He was just helping all these German people who are being oppressed, these culturally German people who found themselves in this other country, and they were being oppressed and persecuted by, that is the official reason World War II started. Anyway, but that's like, this is the way of dictators. And Putin is more than a wannabe. He is the real deal. And he's just following, the greatest and the latest, right? So this is like something that's repeated over and over again. Putin is really good at that. He knows that, like, everyone can see through his doublespeak, but no one ever does anything. There's sanctions from the European Union. There's still sanctions on Russia because of this conflict. But that's what happened a few years back with Ukraine. And Ukraine couldn't really do anything about it. They're kind of in this very awkward position. But it has very bravely kind of continued to hold out against any further Russian aggression. Because, like, Putin, what he did, he went into Crimea, then he kind of expanded. He would have definitely expanded more and more into Ukraine had he not been stopped by Ukrainian forces. It's a complicated situation, but at the same time, he didn't really want to invade Ukraine. He just wanted to mess with people. He just wanted to show that he can still do crazy stuff and that he's, like, still out there. It's very Putin, cause a lot of damage, very low input, low investment, and a lot of damage as the return, a lot of chaos, and then your entire reputation across the world stage, then it's like, amplified. So that's kind of been simmering in the background, but not a lot has been going on this border since Putin's conducting of this basically an annexation of territory in the Ukraine, and now there's this new border. But Putin's been amassing more and more forces, military forces, alongside this border, which is uncharacteristic. There's different theories about why this is happening. There's some speculation that this is just Putin's equivalent of North Korea launching missiles whenever there's a new president in place in the U.S. North Korea does something. And it's like, just a show of power, hi, I'm Putin, I'm so crazy. There's other people showing a lot more concern. They think that it's like, this is a vulnerable time for the European Union. This is a vulnerable time for the world. Who knows what he might do? I think Putin is just, it's just for show. The Kremlin has already stated officially that they're not moving towards a war with Ukraine. They want to be participating in talks and negotiations. And Biden has just now had a phone call with Kremlin just hours ago. So we'll see what happens with that. There is real fear that things will happen. NATO has stepped in, or at least as far as they're willing to. NATO has stepped in just to condemn the situation. Ukraine is not a part of NATO, but it has a kind of special deal with NATO. The reason why it's not a part of NATO is because it's such a volatile region, and this is not a liability that NATO wants to take on. The moral implications of that aside, that is just the reality of the situation. And these countries, just to be clear, the people of Ukraine, they don't love Russia, and they don't want to be saved by Putin. They don't want Putin to invade their country, and they don't, none of that is true. This is total propaganda. There are some people in Ukraine who probably identify culturally as Russian. I doubt that they wanted an invasion to help them out with that. They could just go to Russia. The problem in this region is that these are all former USSR satellite states, and the closer to Russia they are, especially those neighboring with Russia, the harder it's been for those states to make the transition from the 90s when the USSR fell to through modernization and to kind of join the European Union and to become a more integrated part of the European community. And the Ukraine has really struggled, and it's had various ups and downs in its bid for democracy, and it's just been heartbreaking to see. And there's other countries in that region that border with Ukraine that are doing extremely well, that are part of the former USSR bloc. But Ukraine specifically has been really just hampered by Russia and by Russia not wanting to let go. And the same in Belarus. And we've seen the protests ongoing in Belarus and people wanting to be finally set free from this horrible relationship with Russia. But Russia just will not let go and will go so far as to bribe officials. It happened in Ukraine. It happened in Belarus. It's happening now where, like the figurehead, the president of this new system is a democratically elected official, but really they're just like Putin's little puppet. And it just breaks my heart. These countries are part of Europe. They should be part of the European Union. The longer this goes on, the more painful it is. And no matter what someone like Putin no matter how much he wants to stop progress, you can't halt it. The people have spoken, especially in Belarus in 2020 and in Ukraine over the years. The people keep speaking over and over again. They want to forget the past. They want to get on with their lives, but they're not allowed to because they have this crazy ex-boyfriend, Putin, who will not let them. So we'll see what happens with that. And of course, this is coming at a time when another important event in Russia at the moment is basically... And the other story is the story of Alexei Navalny. This is another issue in Russia. He's basically a political prisoner to Putin. He's serving a 3-year consecutive sentences, something like that at the moment, on trumped-up charges. He is de facto in prison for being part of the opposition to Putin. It's rare that a member of the opposition lives this long in Russia. This man has been in opposition to Putin for a very, very long time. He's been around for a long time. Putin tried to poison him, but it didn't work. And now he's imprisoned, Navalny. Navalny has been doing a hunger strike over the past weeks. He started feeling ill in prison. At first he thought it was the hunger strike, but he also mentioned mistreatment from the prison authorities. And mysteriously he was moved from the prison at some point to a clinic on prison grounds. And he developed a fever, wasn't feeling well. There was mention of him getting a COVID test last week. Nobody published any results. There was no statement from the Kremlin about this or from the prison. The only thing we were told was the prison issued a statement saying that Alexei Navalny is being treated the same way that any other prisoner in the facility is treated, which I guess does not bode very well for Alexei Navalny. But yeah, he and then like over the course of days and this past week, we've been finding out all these weird things about Alexei Navalny's health. This is more than the hunger strike. He has 2 herniated discs, which does not happen accidentally. You might get a herniated disc from one accident. Like you could do it to yourself if you did something like a lot of exercise or like, I don't know, you bent down the wrong way. Like if you were super unlucky, you could get one. But 2 implies some kind of physical situation where this got damaged. And if he didn't do it to himself, somebody else must have done it. That's the logical explanation. And he's not feeling well. He has a fever. Is Putin trying to kill him? At this point, I think this is probably what Putin is probably going to try and do. I know the whole world is watching, and I know he's kind of, in the situation where if something happens to Navalny, everyone's going to blame Putin, but Putin doesn't care. This is the perfect time. Navalny's been traveling the world, functioning as this oppositional force to Putin for many years. And it was hard to kind of get him, He was constantly moving around. And this time, he's in one place, and he's a sitting duck. So I think Putin will try, I think Putin is trying to kill him. And I think, I just hope that the next time I see you, Alexei Navalny will still be alive. And I have so much admiration for him for being crazy enough to do this. This is someone who is incredibly dedicated. This is someone who knows that the price you pay for standing up to Putin is your life. That is pretty incredible. But there's always the chance, just to be fair, there's always the chance that this is just a random occurrence. There's been some speculation that it might be tuberculosis. I think Navalny mentioned it himself, because he had a fever at least some days ago, and there was an outbreak of tuberculosis in that prison, as medieval as that sounds. So it could be something else, or it could be both. We just don't know. All I can say is good luck, Alexei. Thank you for watching. That was the European show. That is the end. I'm sorry. I know, everyone's devastated. But I really appreciate you being here. As you might know, I have 1 subscriber so far, and that is myself. I subscribe to my own channel. This is all super, super new. I want to build this into a bigger kind of platform. I have like all these visions and dreams for this. I think there is a gap in the political market, so to speak, when it comes to internationalist perspectives and people speaking on transnational and transcontinental things, and not just from a left perspective. Everyone's welcome here. I want this to be a safe space for risky business, risky political and social business. So feel free to comment, feel free to message me. I'd love to hear from you. And I just want this to be a forum for people to connect on those different issues. There's a lot of great, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great podcasts out there. There's a lot of great European commentary. There's not a lot that's like considered independent, left-leaning or progressive media. I'm obviously quite a lot left-leaning, or like extremely left. But there's just not a lot of that happening. There's no TYT Europe at the moment. And I'd like there to be a place for that to happen. And I'd like to also hear from you. And I'd like there to be a place for other countries in the world, from South America through Asia, Africa, so that we can connect in this way, and that we can talk about the issues that are happening locally, but also their global significance. So that's what I'm hoping for. It's a big project, but it is something that I think we all need. And I'd love to, as I say, I'd love to hear from you. I have 1 subscriber. It's myself. That's how it starts. So you are here first. If you're watching this, remember, you are here first, and I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stay safe out there.